Sometimes I buy fig butter from Trader Joe's and spread it on a piece of toast in the morning for breakfast. It's pretty good. But this is absolutely next level. My homemade vanilla cinnamon fig butter is insanely delicious. It's only fruit sweetened, so there's no added sugar, and it's really versatile. I love it on a piece of whole grain toast or spread on pancakes or crepes. You can stir it into a bowl of oatmeal or yogurt. You can bake with it, or you can just indulge in a decadent spoonful. If you can find fresh figs, buy 2 pounds and make this with me. I think you'll be really shocked how simple it is too. Welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Stephanie. I'm a whole food plant-based chef and cooking instructor, and I'm really excited to share with you my recipe for vanilla cinnamon fig butter. This was originally part of my online course, the Green Sage Summer Fruit Club, but I decided to share it publicly here on the YouTube channel because it's just too yummy to keep secret. Once you make it, you'll be able to use it in my homemade granola recipe too, which is the next video coming up on the channel, so I hope you'll consider subscribing so you won't miss that one either. And as always, if you'd like to see the full written recipe, you can check the video notes below to find it there. So let's get started on this. Here's what you'll need. 8 medjool dates. I find that the darkest, wettest looking dates are usually the sweetest. 2 pounds of fresh figs. Here I've chosen the brown turkey and Sierra green variety, but feel free to choose any variety of fresh figs you can find, and it's totally okay to mix these up. Then you'll just need 2 teaspoons of fresh lemon juice. I usually buy it in a jar, a tablespoon of vanilla extract, and a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. I buy my medjool dates at Costco, and they usually still have the pits in them. So in order to pit them, I'll take a steak knife and just run it down one side of the date lengthwise. Then I can pry it open and pull away the stem and the pit, and I'll put this into a heat-proof bowl. I'll do this with all 8 of my dates. And then once the dates are pitted and in a heat-proof bowl, I will cover them with some hot water that I heated up in my kettle. Just enough to keep them submerged. And then I will set these aside to let them soften. In the meantime, grab your fresh figs and cut away the stems. Then cut each one in half, and each half, so that the figs are now in quarters. I mean, look how pretty they are. And you'll continue this task until you've chopped all 2 pounds of the figs. And once you've chopped all the figs, you'll have almost a cutting board full of pretty little pieces of fruit. And we'll just transfer these to the large bowl of the food processor. So we'll just gently ease these into the food processor and try our best not to get anywhere else but in the bowl. 1 or 2 pieces always escape. No big deal, I'll rinse it off. Actually, I'm just gonna eat the piece that fell. And once all the figs are chopped and in the food processor, by now the dates will have also softened in the hot water. So we'll just drain away the soaking water and transfer the dates over to the food processor as well. And I'll just measure 2 teaspoons of lemon juice and add that to the food processor too. The next step is simple. Just put the lid on the food processor, snap it into place, and begin to puree. You may need to stop the machine once or twice while it's blending, and use your scraper tool to scrape down the sides and make sure all the pieces of figs get blended in. And then you'll just keep blending until it's smooth. This looks pretty smooth. Here's what it looks like when it's blended. And I'm gonna move over to the stovetop now and transfer this to a saute pan to cook it down. Usually I just start by pulling out the blade and scraping that off into the pan. Since the blade's not fixed like it is in a blender, it would come out into the pan if you tried to pour it without doing this first. And then I'll pour the rest of the fig and date puree into the saute pan easily. Now bring up the heat to about medium-high at first, and I'll get this moving with the silicone spatula. It starts out the consistency of a thick applesauce, and I try to keep it spread evenly across the pan so it cooks evenly. And then once it starts to steam and simmer a little bit, I'll turn down the heat to medium-low, and I'll just keep it moving pretty frequently so that it doesn't burn while we're cooking it. And I've set a timer for 25 minutes so that it'll remind me to come and take a look at that point so we can do the last few steps of the recipe. I'm going to give this one last stir, and you'll see if you're cooking it too that it will have darkened and thickened quite a bit, such that when you pull your spatula all the way through it to the bottom, it stands almost in stiff peaks. In other words, it doesn't fill in the space where you just stirred. So this is the point where we will add 1 tablespoon, or in other words 3 teaspoons of vanilla extract to the mixture, and stir that in really well. Smell is absolutely incredible. And once that's stirred in, we'll also get the ground cinnamon in there. That's 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. And then give that a stir. Now this is simmered for just another 5 minutes since I added the final ingredients, and you can see it's quite thick. Stands up on its own when I drag the silicone spatula through. And so this is ready. I'm going to turn off the heat. Once it's cooled enough to taste safely, give it a try. It is so amazing. Once it's cooled, you can transfer the vanilla cinnamon fig butter to a food storage container of your choice. Today I'm going to be using one of these Pyrex snapware dishes. Even though I used canning jars to store the fig butter last time I made it, I did not preserve this for long time storage by boiling the canning jars with the metal canning lids. So these are just reusable plastic lids, and I store this in the refrigerator like I would an open jar of jam. You'll want to try to consume this within a couple of weeks of making it, but I imagine it won't last that long because it's really hard to resist. In my next video, I'll show you how to make a super yummy homemade granola using some of this vanilla cinnamon fig butter. I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel so you won't miss it. Thank you so much for watching, friends. Again, I'm Stephanie of Green Sage, wishing you good health and delicious food. I'll see you again next time.